Here in Ontario, there's so few people that do it. It's not on the news. It's not on, it's not in popular culture. I always loved being outdoors. I loved being around water. I loved exploring. So freediving just was a natural fit for me.
My name is Evan Halmond, and I'm a photographer and filmmaker, and I do a bunch of other things. I decided to make this documentary because I wanted to learn how to freedive. Well, you'll see how that goes. I hope you enjoy.
Hi, my name is Lily Risable, and I am a competitive freediver. I'm also the national record holder for women's freediving in dynamic.
And I'm Andrew Risable. This is my wife and former student, Lily Risable. So I'm a freediving instructor and an ice diver, professional ice diver. We do various projects for brands, for TV, for magazines, stuff like that. In Canada, I'm typically the deepest diver at the national competition that they have every year. So freediving basically is diving on one breath. So it's like scuba diving, but instead of bringing an air tank with you and BCD and all these regulators and all that equipment, what you're doing is at the surface, you're taking a big breath, and then with that one big breath, you're diving down and you're exploring. What we like to do is we like to practice holding our breath in a safe place, like on a couch or in a swimming pool with a buddy. And then that allows our bodies to adapt to low oxygen levels and high CO2 levels.
Just like any athlete trained for a marathon or a triathlon or anything in their sport, it's always good to have proper breathing training. So the dangers of freediving, one of the biggest thing is having a blackout. And I experienced a blackout during a competition, actually one of my second competitions ever in my history of freediving. Be able to have trained buddies be available to rescue you when and in the event of a blackout. And it's so important to be able to know how to rescue a freediver if they've experienced a blackout or anything like an LMC, which is loss of motor control, because without that you could have serious brain damage or it would lead to death.
Is that Lily said a trained buddy, so that doesn't include your friend that's taking a nap on the pool deck. It doesn't count if your grandma's there watching. It has to be someone who's trained in freediving rescue. Even lifeguards, they don't know how to rescue freedivers. They're not trained. So like to be a decent recreational freediver, then you just need general water comfort. You need, of course, a buddy to go with you. And you need to learn how to equalize the pressure in your ears, because as you go down, the water pressure will build up in your ears and that will feel uncomfortable. Most people probably have felt it becomes more and more difficult to equalize. So that's usually the limit for most freedivers, is their equalization, not their breath hold.
So I got into freediving because after my mother passed away from cancer, I was really, I would need to overcome my grief, and that was my biggest fear of losing her. And I thought if God could help me overcome the fear of losing my mother and my father, both to cancer, I was like, you know what, I need to face my next biggest fear, which is the water. So when I was a child, when I was about 2 years old, I actually drowned in Indonesia on a family trip, and my uncle had to resuscitate me from the pool. So ever since then, growing up, and even as an adult, I was always paralyzed and afraid of going to the water. So I didn't know how to swim. I really didn't want to be near the water, and I was always very anxious and nervous around. And that's when I decided to take lessons for swimming and scuba diving. And then I met Andrew at our local dive shop when he was running a freediving intro course. And
For me, I got into freediving completely by accident. I went up to Tobermory to go on a camping trip with one of my friends. So we decided to bring our snorkeling gear, so just a mask, a snorkel, and some fins. And our goal was to snorkel the shipwreck. After that camping weekend, I went back home, went on the computer, and I Googled, how do you hold your breath longer? The sport of freediving came up. I had no idea. Learning from the internet, you get good and bad information, and I was doing tons of things that were super dangerous. Maybe after being a sketchy diver for a couple of years, then I took my first freediving course. Totally changed my diving. I could dive instantly, twice as deep. Yeah, if you're already making the commitment of driving to the dive site, gearing up, taking the day off work, you might as well maximize your time in the water with proper gear. You know, investing in good gear if you want to really get into freediving is a good idea. Like when I started, I made the mistake of getting all my gear just off of Kijiji, like scuba stuff, which really isn't optimal for freediving. And then I just had to buy gear twice. So this is our basic gear that we'll be wearing and using no matter what type of diving we're doing. If we're doing other types of diving, we might add little pieces here and there. But no matter what we're doing, basically we're wearing this kind of stuff. So to start, we have our wetsuit. So this is the top. It's going to protect us from that cold and make us nice and comfortable so that we feel like we're in nice warm water, even though the water is only like 1 degree.
I'll hold it.
This wetsuit on the inside, it's going to be hard to see on the film, but if you were able to touch it, it's basically like a rubbery surface here.
Okay.
Other wetsuits, like regular wetsuits, scuba wetsuits, triathlon wetsuits, other wetsuits like that, they'll have like more of a fabric feel. It's called a lycra on the inside, so it's more durable having one of those. But this one is called open cell neoprene. But the nice thing about these is once it's on, it's a nice tight fit. It's really flexible, and because it's a tight fit, not so much water is rushing through like other wetsuits. Whereas with these wetsuits, basically whatever comes in, it kind of stays in a lot better than other wetsuits. They're more expensive, more fragile, but they're way better. There's gloves. This protects our hands from the cold, but it also protects our hands from things like zebra mussels or sharp edges on a shipwreck. Lobster style gloves, because that allows you to have the dexterity with this index finger out. And then these 3 fingers, they're together for warmth. Socks protect our feet from the cold, and also when we're walking, socks are important. And here we have our dive mask. So it covers the nose, you'll see. Goggles, they don't work. If you're diving with goggles, you can only go about 2 meters deep, like 6 feet deep. Otherwise, you're gonna damage your eyes actually, because that air is going to compress. As that compresses, it's going to cause issues to your eyes, and you're going to rupture blood vessels. So you want to have an enclosed nose. That also protects your nose from getting water in it. And snorkel, so that we can be breathing while we're on the surface. It's an important safety tool. So while our buddy's diving down, we can watch them the whole time. And we have our fins, nice and flexible, nice and long for freediving. So what you get with a nice long fin like this is you get a nice efficient kick. Scuba fins, they're really stiff compared to this, and they're shorter. If you're freediving, you're burning a lot more oxygen using a fin like that than this. And to counteract the buoyancy that our neoprene wetsuits and gloves have, we're wearing a weight belt. So this weight belt, the goal of it is basically just to counteract the added buoyancy that we have from the other gear that we're wearing.
I just tried doing my breathing exercise for today, and my last time was 3:04, and my best time today was about 2:04. I'm still trying to figure out why, other than just my headspace. I'll try again soon. So this is about the time that things started to go wrong. I started this project around February 15th, a little bit before that really, and the planning was before that, of course. So starting around March 2nd or 3rd, I started having troubles doing my breath holds. I thought it was just anxiety with projects and such. On the 3rd, I didn't do a breath hold. Which, if I missed a day or something like that, I wasn't too concerned about it. By the time that I got to about the 4th, I really just was struggling. I tried to do a maximum breath hold attempt, and trying to match my best time of 3 minutes, 4 seconds. I just couldn't. I couldn't get beyond around the 2-minute mark. Lately, I've been dealing with a lot of anxiety. I am finishing up my last year of my double major. I'm doing theater arts and digital media, but it means a lot to me to finish these degrees. Like, this is also 4 years of my life. I was hoping to do this on freediving, just exclusively, but I don't think I can. What I'm going to be doing is completely changed. There's a link between depression and anxiety and a lack of oxygen to the brain, as far as if you're getting less oxygen supplied to your brain, it can cause greater depression and anxiety in those people that are prone to it, like myself.
So how do you feel before your first free dive?
I'm definitely feeling a bit nervous. Like Lily was saying earlier, it's all in your head, so we'll have to see how this goes.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Freediving is just so unique because it's a sport done primarily in your mind.
Good day of diving, right?
What I set out to do a few months ago was learn how to freedive. Well, it didn't go exactly the way that I was hoping. I hope that it shows part of my journey as far as going through this, I guess, depressive episode, you could say, where I didn't really know whether I wanted to continue with this and make this documentary, at least in the way that I had intended. I did go on a dive, and I really enjoyed it, honestly. But I'm not sure whether I will again after that. You see, when I was on my dive, I felt anxious. A lot of that was the learning curve. Like, I don't know anything about diving, technically. I'm going to give it at least one more try. That's not going to happen right now. And hopefully I can get that on video for the sake of this channel. But while I enjoyed the dive, and I enjoyed watching the shipwreck go by and seeing this other world, this peaceful, quiet world that I didn't really get to experience much before, I'd at least like to try one more time. The problem I experienced with the dive was my mask wasn't sealing correctly. Part of that was I had a mustache at the beginning, but also part of that was apparently it's a fairly common thing, as Lily told me later on, that new divers, because of anxiety or that sort of thing, their mask won't seal correctly. So in my case, it primarily was happening at my nose. When you move your mouth, it tends to upset the seal on the mask. So in this clip, I go to dive down, but I have to stop because the water is just flowing right up into my nose. If you've ever been diving and just felt water rushing into your nose while you're trying to hold your breath, it feels terrifying in a way, because you feel like you're about to drown, even if you are only like 4 feet from the surface. If I had to make a final decision now, I think I would give up diving. There's a lot of other things I really enjoy doing, filmmaking being one of them, I feel like at this point, I wouldn't miss much by not diving. As far as my mental health goes, I'm feeling a lot better now. I got all but this project done. And so hopefully I can finish that tonight and get it submitted. And I hope that you all have enjoyed it.